Now, back to more of Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. And your host, Lisa Condit.
Thank you all for tuning in and listening. I'm excited to be here with Olivia Scanlon. And Olivia is one of the newest members of our team. She is the new director for the Brick Box Theater, which you all have heard me talking about, but you get it right from the source here. Welcome to our program.
Hey, thanks so much, Lisa.
Absolutely. So many people have met you in Worcester, but many people haven't. Why don't you give us just a quick intro to who's Olivia Scanlon and what brought you to Worcester?
Sure, thanks. I moved here about a year and a half ago with my wonderful wife, Rachel. I lived in Cambridge, where I was the producing artistic director of a small theater company that I had founded and been running for about 5-6 years called Bridge Repertory Theater. And as that company was sort of reaching its organic conclusion, Rachel and I got married. She is a Clark alum. She works out here in central Massachusetts, and it just sort of made all sorts of sense to consider moving to Worcester. And then, lo and behold, there was this sort of perfect job here, that I was a good fit for. So everything was really organic and wonderful, and I'm thrilled to be here and have been working with the Hanover since September of 2019.
Well, I think that we're the lucky ones to have you here, and you're just such a great example of what all of us who have been in Worcester for a while have talked about, dreamed about, where people look all over and they choose Worcester as their home.
That's
and
right.
Not only do we choose Worcester as our home, but you have made the move from Cambridge, where, that's like the Mecca for many people in central and western Massachusetts, but you have brought the cool here to Worcester. So tell us a little bit about what got you excited about Worcester in particular.
Yeah, I think Worcester is super cool, and that I've just loved it. So essentially, when I was living in Cambridge and my then fiance was living here in Central Mass, she lived in Clinton, and so I would take the train to Union Station, the commuter rail to Union Station, and she would pick me up there, and then we would drive through the Canal District and through Kelly Square to get back onto the highway to go to her place in Clinton. And, every other week or so when I was here, I was like, Worcester is so cool.
That's right. It's so nice to hear that from somebody outside the area, just to remind us all that, yes, Worcester is cool. So one question I know people have is they might not be familiar with the term brick box, and in fact, we've kind of created that term. Originally, the brick box was referred to as a black box theater. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about what's a black box theater and why is that different from our main stage here at the Hanover Theatre?
Yeah, absolutely. So black box theaters usually are just that, a big black cube that can be used in a more flexible way than, say, in a big proscenium-style theater like the Hanover, where the stage is always where it is and the seats are always where they are, and the orientation of the audience to the stage is pretty much all the same and always the same, and it's sort of a bigger, grander scale. Whereas a black box tends to be smaller. Ours is going to have a maximum of about 290 seats, and the space is just used a little bit differently. The orientation of the audience to the stage can be moved around. It's a little bit more flexible, and so it just sort of lends itself to a different kind of theatrical experience, not better or worse, just very different. And so that's what's fun about having the big Hanover Theatre and then this brick box theater right around the corner. And in terms of calling it a brick box instead of a black box, it functions just like a black box, but we've retained all of the industrial character of the space, which includes the fact that all four walls are exposed brick. And so instead of covering those up, we've let them be, and we decided to call it the brick box instead of the more generic term black box.
It's so cool, and it's such a great space. I'm glad you brought up its size and different types of productions. So what kind of events do you see happening at the Brick Box?
Sure, yeah. The Brick Box, first I'll explain that the Brick Box and its sister space, the Worcester Pop-Up, together the Brick Box and the Pop-Up make up what is now called the Jean McDonough Art Center. And the Jean McDonough Art Center is an initiative of the Worcester Cultural Coalition. And the Cultural Coalition engaged the Hanover Theatre, specifically us, to help operate the Brick Box Theater. So the whole venue is an initiative of the Worcester Cultural Coalition, and one of the goals of the Brick Box Theater is to provide that sort of smaller performance space to all members of the Worcester Cultural Coalition who might want to put on work there. So Music Worcester, Worcester Chamber Music Society, Main Idea. There are close to 80 organizations who are part of the Worcester Cultural Coalition, and one of our key initiatives is for them to feel like it's their space where they can put on ticketed performance events, which is really exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting because we've been talking about the theater district, and many people who listen know that the theater district has really come alive in downtown Worcester, but up until now, there's only one theater in the theater district.
Right, precisely. Yeah, so another goal along the lines of theater specifically in the Brick Box is to manifest a professional regional theater presence, because of course here at Big Hanover we host spectacular productions that are making their way around the country, but aside from our wonderful production of A Christmas Carol, we ourselves don't make the theater that is seen here. And so we're also hoping to manifest a professional regional theater presence in the Brick Box. We're talking to some other theater-producing organizations in the state and also down in Hartford that they might want to bring some of their work here. And then Hanover Theatre, we are pioneering our own little line of programming for the Brick Box that we're calling THT Rep, which will be like A Christmas Carol, although much smaller scale because the Brick Box is much smaller than the Big Hanover Theatre. THT Rep will be homegrown professional theater to be presented in the Brick Box.
Well, and what's exciting about that, too, is many of our listeners might know that we recently started a youth acting company, and that's definitely one of the things I want to make sure we talked about today, because our conservatory, so the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory for the Performing Arts, has two really interesting and appealing and successful business units. That conservatory has really grown to the number of families and students who participate. We want to make sure that those students have a place to perform that isn't as large as the Hanover Theatre, which is 2,300 seats. That's a lot of seats to put into a theater. Right. And especially if you're starting out and you're perfecting your craft, a smaller venue makes a lot of sense. Not only that, but especially plays. I know that that's been something that people have been talking about for a really long time, because as a community we miss that smaller venue to watch, whether it's original works or just more dramatic plays.
Right. Yes, precisely, because even here at the Hanover, Big Hanover, when we do have theatrical performances, they tend to be musicals, which are wonderful, but the goal is to have all of the offerings available all right here in the theater district, and so the Brick Box is going to really help fill that niche, as you're pointing out very specifically, of plays as opposed to musical theater.
And really offering performance spaces for our students as well. Just like the other members of the Cultural Coalition, we too have a need for performance opportunities. And we're really excited about something that I'd love for us to give a little teaser to our listeners, and that is Romeo and Juliet, which is a collaboration between all of these organizations. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's certainly a collaboration sort of within the different branches of the Hanover. So again, THT Rep is the name of the sort of brand of programming that we're going to have over at the Brick Box. We, the Hanover, are going to have over at the Brick Box. And Troy Siebels, our president and CEO, and Megan Montana, our director of education here at Hanover, approached me about directing the youth acting company in Shakespeare, because my background is on the artistic side. And I said I would be delighted to do that. And looking at the dates, I see here that the students are slated to perform in June, which is also when we'll start being able to have presenters in the Brick Box. So I said to Troy and Megan, I said, what do you think if we have the first THT rep production be Romeo and Juliet, and we'll cast professional actors in the adult roles, and we'll cast the youth acting company conservatory members in the youth roles, and then that way it will be a really kind of bold and ambitious and fun way to launch Hanover's presence in the Brick Box, because as you pointed out, the Hanover is a member of the Worcester Cultural Coalition, and we do need that smaller space.
Yes, we do.
So that's that. I offered that up, and Troy and Megan went with it, and so we have a really super duper creative team coming together, including both the youngsters and some really great professionals.
Which is awesome. And I have to say, bold, ambitious, creative, those are all the things we love to hear and love to grab onto.
I couldn't be more excited, honestly. You know, I mean, I'm bringing in some of my colleagues who I worked with over in Boston. They're thrilled. They think the space is spectacular, because it is. Seeing the students, you know, being asked to rise to the occasion and play these iconic titular roles that really are written to be teenagers but are always played by sort of, you know, like young-looking 30-year-olds
right.
who have had more time and training. But I think the play is going to be very special when you actually see the generational difference really truly manifest on stage, and when you see these words in the mouths of age-appropriate actors. I really think it's going to be quite moving, and in order to kind of help everybody succeed, and also just because, you know, we do live in a different time than Shakespeare's day, I've trimmed the script way down. It's below 90 minutes. We're probably going to get it down to maybe like the 75-minute range, and I think it's going to be a really, really special event and a really great way for Hanover to sort of be adding this third branch under the auspices of THT Rep.
It's all very exciting. And you have a website that people can at least get an idea of what's happening at JMAC. So it's jmacworcester.org.
That's right.
And we will be going on sale with tickets and really officially announcing THT Rep with the Romeo and Juliet performance in another month or so. Probably closer to what's the launch date for that, Olivia?
Well, I think right in that sort of beginning of April 1 to April 15 range is when you can sort of expect to hear a lot of news, both from the JMAC pop-up Brick Box at large and all of the presenters that will be over there, as well as from THT Rep specifically.
Well, I definitely recommend everybody stay tuned for those exciting updates. And again, what's the best way for people to find out more information? Maybe you have some listeners who are interested in the space itself.
Yeah, super. So jmacworcester.org is the site, and then you'll see at the top there's a page dedicated to the Brick Box, and that page is really more for people who want to use the space. On that page you can read all of our FAQs, including the rates, and you can submit a preliminary application. So that page is geared more towards people who want to use the space for performance and for events, whereas the home page of jmacworcester.org is where patrons will find the calendar listing of all the upcoming events and where they will eventually be able to buy tickets.
Olivia, thank you so much for taking time and telling us a little bit more about what's happening behind the scenes at JMAC and the Brick Box. Thank you again, Olivia. Everybody, you're welcome. I hope you have a great day. We'll be talking again soon. Everybody else, stay tuned. We'll be back after this quick break here on Behind the Scenes with the Hanover Theatre.